Plot: Treasure Blind, 2008. A struggling cabbie finds a map that'll let him to Civil War gold. But his treasure hunting eventually brings him face to face with the past he's tried to bury for years in this Christian-themed drama. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over-dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast where we're blinded by lens flares and praying for realistic portrayals of disability on screen. My name is Sky McLeod,
I'm Melissa Bukta.
and we are watching Treasure Blind this week. This is a hour-and-a-half long movie that is very low-budget Jesus-y film. That's
Yes.
my...
It's an hour and a half, and yet it feels like 2 hours.
It was surprising. It felt very long. I saw something online that said 150 minutes, and I'm like, that's not true, but I could see why you would make that mistake. It feels way longer than it is. But it is, a movie that is written, directed, and stars a man whose name is
Brian
Shoop.
Shoop.
I was going to say Ben, so we got it together.
Cool. You know what? Actually, I think we did that wrong because it's... Oh, it is Brian.
Yeah, no, Brian is... Because I was going to say Ben, so...
There's too many Schloops
Yeah,
in
there's...
this movie.
There is...
There's only two.
But, there's Brian Shoop, not Ben,
Shoop.
and his son, which I don't remember the name of.
Joseph.
There you go.
Joseph Shoop.
Joseph Shoop. And his son plays his son. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. It's all falling together. Yeah, they play an estranged father and son.
Yes, very estranged, and that they've never met at all.
Not once.
Yeah.
Not once at all. Yep.
Well, because he hasn't found Jesus yet. This is like a Jesus-y movie, but it's like kind of...
It is the least Jesus-y of Jesus movies, which
Yeah.
was really comforting because I really did not want to watch somebody proselytize for an hour and a half. I
have to
not
admit,
my
I
thing.
was kind of bummed out that it wasn't more from the beginning, because that's what I find that very funny. I think it's probably just because I did not grow up in a very religious household, so it doesn't feel as threatening. It feels funnier to me because I see religion as ridiculous.
Oh, even just the little kids singing in the cab.
Well,
all the
is-
church songs like that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah, and it is really funny too. Like that, I found that part funny because he's a child.
Right. It's really hard to critique this child because he is a child.
Well, I see that's funny because I was thinking like he's a child and he's singing like it's indoctrination.
Oh, yeah, no, most definitely. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? This is a movie that's has a blind actor playing a blind character, and he's not just wishing he could see the whole movie. So really, we
yes.
love this movie.
Yes,
technically.
I was so yes. That's another thing. We're watching a Jesus movie. I was so afraid that this boy was going to get faith healed, or was going to gain his sight, or just was going to be sad, and
he was blind. Yeah,
right. And we're going to have to hear about Jesus and the blind man. I'm like, that's not.
Yeah,
I don't want that, and that's not at all what the movie is about. Actually, the movie isn't even really about the fact that this kid is blind.
Yeah, it is weirdly like kind of. Yeah, I mean they do also use it as part of the plot technically, but then not in a way that like, so it's like you couldn't replace him with a sighted character, but it's also not like his action, like, because it's like Braille, like the fact that he can read Braille is a plot point,
Right.
But like I like when they do it so that it's like you have to have a blind, the character has to be blind because of the way it's written, but then they're also not like, wanting to see, or like everyone's like, oh wow, like I'm beautiful or whatever. I don't know, whatever weird tropes are like about Vision. It's not like he's supposed to be like the anti-Vision guy. It's like he knows how to read Braille, and that's different than, you know, the other characters, which I mean technically I mean we love this movie, don't we, Melissa? I guess.
Oh yeah, I love it so much. I'm okay. It's hard because I can't. While I was watching it, I was just thinking I can't even fire up the vitriol to hate on this movie so much. It's not.
It was kind of a disappointment to me.
It was really disappointing.
Well, the Confederate stuff is kind of
that was
something to talk
super
about.
weird. Yeah, I felt kind of uncomfortable during all of that stuff. I'm just this is so weird, and you're making it so much of a plot point, and instead of getting just, you know, an exposition dump or whatever, we have to spend half of this movie in flashback,
right, to the Confederate soldiers,
right, played by just some not good actors. I think the thing that upset me the most in this film is just the subpar acting.
It's some bad acting, and also, okay, come on, you gotta give the editing credit for being very bad.
Oh, the editing is terrible. Scenes will just end
Yeah.
in the weirdest places, and
then you'll just like have like a very loud like exterior, or like what's the right word, like room tones.
Yes,
and
so
then
the
it will
room
just
tone is
like
crazy.
you'll just have a really quick fade into like some like flute. Well, that
Oh.
will be a fade into silence, and then the soundtrack will come up,
Yes.
and you're like, what is happening?
because if you're watching, you know, a I don't know, bigger budget. I'm not going to say professional because that's not fair, but bigger budget film. You know, you have the scene at the table with the father and the son and the little boy, and they're talking about the treasure, and you want to convey that one of the characters notices that there's something wrong, or that the relationship between the father and the son is askewed. So their voices might fade out, and the music might fade up, and you'd focus in on the third character. Well, the sound drops almost completely away, and then this super loud music comes up out of nowhere, and it's like, I don't know what is happening. I'm so disoriented.
Yeah, there's a lot of the mix is just really having
props
a day.
props to the cicadas.
Yeah,
Absolutely terrifying.
I love me some cicadas.
I do not.
Oh,
I
that's
don't like
interesting.
them. They're big and they're loud, and I can't see them, and they're everywhere.
Wait, but aren't you comfort? I find that so comforting. I
Cicadas?
love
No.
cicadas and crickets.
No. Crickets are fine. Crickets I enjoy. Cicadas, no.
Wait,
It's
why?
It's these things. It's these giant bugs in these trees, and they're
They're
like,
in the trees.
I'm
It's
gonna
so
I'm gonna
cool.
back away from the microphone because I don't want to. But it's these big things in these trees, and they're like, wee, wee. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't find that comforting at all, especially when they are blasting over dialogue that you probably should hear.
Well, yeah, it is interesting. Sometimes I was like, did we get room tone and then just like really fuck up the mix, or did we just not get a good environment to be recording sound? Because you also hear a lot of breathing, which makes me think that he had to laugh, because like you would not hear that, or like the camera person just was really. But that's like another level.
Wow. Okay, I didn't even notice that. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
so creepy.
It was very distracting to me. I was like, and I've been having trouble breathing this week too, so I'm like, I don't want to hear someone else who can't breathe well. I'm like tired of hearing myself struggle to breathe. I don't have coronavirus, I just have really bad allergies, so yeah.
The apatheticness, is that a word? I'm making it a word. The apatheticness of the actors just kind of bowled me over, because bad acting is bad acting. Overacting is overacting. This was pure, like,
They were reading
apathetic.
lines. Yeah.
Nobody gave a crap what they
There's,
were
like,
saying.
so many monotone. I love like
So monotone.
because he's like a taxi driver. To start getting into the plot, we have
Cliff. Cliff is his character's name.
Oh yeah, Cliff Edwards. I was like, is it his name Edward? No, his name is Cliff Edwards.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really
No, his name is Edward Clifton.
Edward Clifton. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so he is a taxi driver, and he's kind of a curmudgeon-y taxi driver, I guess. Because
Yeah.
I imagine just hasn't found Jesus yet. But that's also me making that more important than the movie makes it. In my head,
Which is so weird, because I've seen my fair share of Christian movies,
It didn't-
evangelical movies.
It was not as clear, because I love when it's good and evil and every character behaves in a completely nonsensical way where it's like they haven't found Jesus and
You
it's
have-
like all on the
oh.
timeline of who's found Jesus.
You have
Yeah.
got to watch the God's Not Dead movies. They're just
Well, Chris, my housemate,
awful.
loves God's Not Dead, so this is a God's Not Dead household here.
oh good. Okay.
But yeah, no, it's I love it so much. But yeah, no, this movie was not. It disappointed me in that it was not as much like the characters that hadn't found Jesus were not as like starkly contrasted as I would have liked. Because I love that when people are like, I don't believe in
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, but I mean, something that I did notice though, leave it to. It's kind of neat because leave it to the Christian directors who are going to cast people who are actually disabled, or
I know.
people who are of actual size, or people who are heavy set, or it was people of color. It was kind of amazing. I mean, it definitely feels like he lives in Tulsa or went to Tulsa and was like, "Hey, I'm making a movie. Who wants to be in it?"
I think he lives in Tulsa. Actually, I did read his IMDb, and it was like he started becoming an actor when his kids moved out of the house, which is like kind of endearing.
Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
he's an older gentleman who wrote this story and has a story that he wanted to
Gotten
tell.
a blind a blind actor to play the blind character. Yeah, it's almost like there's an innocence. Like you're like, yeah, of course we're
Extremely.
gonna just cast people to be what they're playing. Why
Yeah,
not? Why
which-
wouldn't you do that?
Exactly, which is really cool. I mean, this is
And it's really important that also sons are played by your actual son. 'Cause
Yes,
that's the
you
thing
have
that
to
really
do that.
bothers me in movies
Yeah,
when the son
yeah.
is not the actual son.
Yep. So yeah, this is an actual father and son, which I think you hit the nail on the head. It's actually kind of endearing.
Yeah.
That's something that surprises me that I'm walking out of this movie with.
I know, it was kind of, I mean, and the funny thing is with like the apathetic actors, all the stuff with the Confederacy is only problematic in that it is so apathetic and so morally like just non-specific. Like there's just like the morality is just kind of like flatlined.
Well,
I feel
also
like.
we didn't need it. Now we.
Yeah, we really
I was
didn't.
fine with the first flashback in the beginning because that sets up everything.
Except
That's-
for that scene had the worst possible continuity error where one of the actors had just like seemed to have not met the people he was acting with, because every shot of him was just like a sky and then you would see him in context and you were like, what is
my
happening?
God, yeah. Oh, that
That
is
was
so
funny.
weird.
And it was the first scene, so you're like, is it all gonna be like this? Are we all gonna obviously have an actor who's like up against a green screen? Like it was so bad. It was like
The first scene,
very bad.
The first scene, I was very worried. I was worried and excited because I was like,
yeah, me
"This
too.
is going to be terrible.
disappointed.
Strap yourselves in. This is going to be awful." And then it just kind of unfolds itself slowly and unceremoniously, and it's just kind of there. But yeah, I think we needed one flashback to set up all this crap. And then I don't want to see those Civil War people again.
also-
It makes no sense.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is like the more we saw of them, the more confused I got. Like they were supposed to give context to what was happening, and it just every single flashback, I was like, wait, what happened?
So here's my question though, because didn't figure this out until it was actually said out loud in the movie. So Henry, the boy, reads Braille, obviously,
Right, yeah.
And we learned that through flashback, the person's daughter who wrote this treasure map, she is also blind.
Yeah.
So, but there's no Braille on this map. Where is the Braille? There's no Braille,
Like there's no Braille.
like
that's-
actual Braille, like physical. Because Braille, if you have some vision, you can see it.
Right. Like, and you can't like. And because I was wondering if he just wasn't really looking at it, like you thought it was, because like if you're not looking for Braille and it's just a blank piece of paper, which also like was paper looking like that in the Civil War time?
No,
because that
that-
felt very much like a NAF by
That
11.
drove me insane.
It was really bothering me
He's
too.
in this like antique shop or whatever, and he finds this piece of paper hidden in the lining of this trunk. Okay, cool.
You're like, what
cool
is this
setup.
from the
Okay.
70s? Like,
Right, and he takes the paper out, and it's like 1896, and I'm like, first
that's
of
a piece
all,
of paper.
first of all, yeah.
Which
you
is
really-
so
you-
funny too, because they like I was watching there and I was like, Braille, I don't know, that was maybe only French people doing it. And then I realized when I went back in the movie, he actually is like those French dots. So they like actually got the right timeline for, because I was like, Braille wouldn't be in the U.S. necessarily, it was just in France, and they knew that, but they couldn't figure out a piece of paper would not look
you
like
couldn't
that.
you couldn't even spend the time to maybe like tea stain, the paper or something. I'm like, that is
it,
super
like,
easy.
Truly look like a student film where you're like, okay, well, this is so not the right piece of paper, but here
we
you
need
go.
a
This is
prop.
printer paper,
And we don't
'cause
have the money.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and it's also like we're already shooting and we forgot this was in the scene, and like, oh, there's printer paper. Okay, like obviously this is not good, but whatever.
Okay,
Like,
good. I figured you'd pick up on that too,
Yeah.
because I didn't. I was like, oh.
I mean, it was a very
Yes.
pivotal thing come to the, because I was like, am I being too nitpicky? But it is
Right.
like the linchpin of the movie. So you would think you would want to like, because they really didn't try. I mean, maybe it was like slightly colored, but it really was not. It really looked like printer paper. It
I
did
mean,
not.
the beaver skin that the poem was written on looked more authentic.
Right. Well, that like, which was also weird because they did have a beaver skin. So I was like, well, then why didn't they just? They could have just done something.
Right, and they
They
had
already knew that paper wasn't really supposed to be
right,
there.
and they had all of the sets and the authentic, costumes and everything. I'm like, okay,
It's
whatever.
very weird. Yeah, they even got a horse-drawn carriage. So, okay, so what happened in the story? Why the beginning of the Civil War stuff just was very confusing. Cuz like there's something with like 3 people trying to steal treasure.
Right.
Right.
So the first flashback I can't explain. I have no idea. That was set up
So
just so we could
lost.
meet these people, I guess.
Yeah.
The second one, they're coming on this they were supposed to go to this battle or something, and they're coming on this wagon train. Or this wagon, because
Right.
it's one wagon, so it's not a train. This wagon comes up the road and they realize there's no one driving it. So they stop the wagon to loot the wagon, I'm assuming. And
Yeah, because they see gold.
Right, what they find is gold bars, which is the treasure. And then they decide to bury it and write an archaic riddle about finding it, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right. But then it's like one of the guys like gets shot by
Virgil.
the Yanks.
The Yanks. Oh my, Yank. When I'm like, Yank? Did you really just say Yank? It's 2020 and you said Yank?
Well, it's 1860 whatever.
Right. And yeah.
Yeah, well, they didn't do the Confederacy call thing. That's
The rebel yell?
Yeah, that like, every time I hear it, like you just like freeze in place. I'm like, oh my god, it's like so disconcerting.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be absolutely terrifying when it happened in the actual war, but
Yeah, and it's like, oh, good, you can remember this is like a thing that like proto-Nazis did basically.
hooray!
Yeah,
I kind of checked out during a lot of the Civil War flashbacks. I think
it is so it's hard to follow because you also like I'm like, all right, they must be Confederate soldiers. We're in like Tulsa, but then there's just not really a lot of like and then they're talking about but it's really hard to follow what is happening.
I usually in movies I don't like to be spoon-fed information, but I think you could have gotten the same amount of information conveyed with one flashback at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the one flashback at the beginning, and then I'll give you the one flashback at the end, because that's actually important to the plot for the most part. But I think all the other information you could have just gotten, you could have just said with exposition, or he read it in a book, or he saw it on
Right.
the internet or something. You
Right,
really
well,
don't
because
need all
it
these
was like you
flashbacks.
had very long scenes of like conversational dialogue that because it was so long, it was very hard to tell what we were supposed to get out of this, and it was all like old language, so it made it harder than if it was just like a very short flashback with just like a little bit of dialogue, because then you would know to focus on the little bit of dialogue.
Right, that and they kept like slipping in and out of their southern accents, which was super distracting.
Yeah, there was
Because I can't do a southern accent. I had to learn, and I know how hard it is to learn, and it's very tricky.
Yeah, which also was part of maybe why I was confused at first. I was like, so are they the Confederacy or is this like Union soldier? And like I couldn't figure it out at first.
The only reason I could tell is because of the uniform. It was a Confederate uniform and it was lighter colored. So it obviously, because Confederates wore gray and Yankees wore blue.
I was like, I bet if I remembered. Well, I am colorblind, so gray and blue are the same thing to me.
Well,
so that also makes it hard.
and it's shot in sepia tone.
Oh,
so
yeah, right.
all the color's been sucked out of
Very
it.
helpful. Yeah, because I was like, I wish I could tell by their uniforms. I was like, at least if it was Nazis, they have a trademark sign that I could be like, you can tell when it's a Nazi soldier, which I
Well, and
appreciate.
I must say, because all the color was sucked out, when they find the box of gold bars, those are the most boring looking gold bars I have ever seen.
They really should have done a Pulp Fiction. They should have just had the like
You shouldn't
shining
even
light.
see them. Yeah. I couldn't even, for the first second, I was like, what? Oh, it's gold. Because they don't
It's
look
so
like
bad.
gold. I don't even know.
And it's sepia, so there aren't any colors.
yeah,
but it looks
yeah.
very bad.
It doesn't even look enticing. The coolest
it
part about a
doesn't.
treasure movie is you see the treasure and you're supposed to want that treasure.
Yeah, no.
I don't give a rip whether they find this treasure or not.
It is funny because the map and the treasure were both like, was there a prop department? Like, and some of the props were like were manageable. Like they were like not super distracting, but the two pivotal ones were the
could
ones where you were like,
yeah, they could afford a freaking wagon and horses to drive
I
it.
know. When they had the horse and wagon, I was like, guys, is this the best use of our money here? Like, why are we doing that's literally the second it came on screen, I was like, I feel like we're probably gonna spend our money better.
They spent their money on the horse and the wagon, and on the pioneer house the Civil War house that they had to make.
Oh, yeah, they have like because that's where the blind girl is.
Yep.
And was that a Union soldier? I fucking could not figure it out.
I'm assuming Confederate because the way he talked about the battle, he talked about it like he was part of the Confederate side.
Yeah, but then he like was defeating people that I thought he was taking the treasure from. I don't know.
I don't even remember. I don't know.
Yeah, it was, again, very hard to follow, which was also like, why do we need these long, boring scenes if it doesn't actually give us the information it's supposed to?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
It doesn't do its one job.
Yeah, it's cool to know that the soldier had a blind daughter, and maybe she
was like a French student, which also like, was that the Confederacy sending their blind children off to learn French Braille?
Maybe they had tutors that came over, that they would hire and come over from France and teach them.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But it is
I
kind
don't
of
know.
funny. I mean, that's like high society stuff, I would imagine.
Right, and they look like maybe a middle class family.
Yeah, teaching a blind girl in the 1860s to read Braille, that's like very upper class. Because like just having a girl reading, that's it, not to mention all the other stuff. Yeah, no, that's a lot. But yeah, so those are all the flashbacks that are hard to follow. But then the plot in present day, which is 2007 or 8 is when the movie came out. I think it was like
2008.
It's following Katrina, which I looked up beforehand, and this is coming out on the week of the 15th anniversary of Katrina. So we obviously planned that. It totally wasn't a complete accident. But it is another plot point is that we have following Katrina. That's how we meet. What's the blind?
Henry,
thank you. That's how we meet Henry, is because he is brought by a mother figure.
Yeah, we don't even know. We
see this. No idea.
We
where
see
she's
this
from.
woman once, and he's like, "Hey, aren't you gonna take this kid back or whatever?" And she's like, "Nah, he's your problem now."
And she's like, "He's your kid." And it's so funny because she goes on this whole monologue, which actually I did get that clip so we can play it.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so we have Daniel Brookshire plays Henry, and this is the scene where we first meet Henry because his person of some kind is dropping him off. And this is kind of near the end of that conversation. But
Yeah, dropping him off at Cliff's house. to
right,
stay.
sorry, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Henry. This is Jack's boy. He's your grandson. Well, you see, he can't.
He's blind.
Yeah, well, look, if there's anything I can do.
What? He can't stay here.
You're his kin, I'm not.
You're his mama, ain't you?
No, ain't you been listening? His mama's dead, his granny's dead, and now his dad is dead. You are all he's got. Look, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
My dad's not dead. God's watching over him. Are you my grandpa?
And he just closes the door.
In the kid's face.
Very cool. But then he comes back to open it.
Super, super badass.
Yeah.
Also, cicadas.
I was going to say
nightmare
your
fuel.
favorite thing.
Nightmare,
Even though this is like in the middle of the day, and I associate
worse.
them with being...
Yeah, it's even worse listening to them through headphones. It's awful.
And the mix is so bad.
It's incredibly bad.
This is a great clip for hearing how bad the mix is.
I want to know, did he willingly add those in, or was there just no way to get around them?
There probably was not. They were not able to get around it, would be my guess.
I guess more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. Because you probably wouldn't. I doubt that you would put them in the mix and have them that loud.
Mm-hmm.
That just feels like it's so easy just to make them softer. But I don't know. Sometimes just having gone to film school and being like such a like lover of editing and like being so in the weeds about it all the time, I'm always shocked by what people just don't bother to do. I'm like, you guys, like it's so easy to do this and it will make it like so much better.
Maybe the cicadas were a metaphor. I don't know.
Definitely not. But yeah, so aside from the cicadas, which it is funny because we talked about that and I forgot that they're so loud, that is one of the clips when they're so loud. But they, so we just get a little bit of it. This is the only scene with that character, the mom character.
Oh yeah, whoever she is, we never see her again.
And it is funny because in that clip she's like, haven't you been listening? And she literally in the whole monologue never says anything about who she is other than like she's a girlfriend maybe
of Jack's,
yeah. But it is very, and she's, that it's very unclear. It is kind of funny that she yells at him for not listening when it's like, I was listening and I don't think you said anything clear enough to understand. But yeah, well, we can't have a female character that's like
competent.
Yeah, at all.
Because this movie's about men and men problems and men relationships. And spoiler alert, Jack is not dead.
Right.
He kind of
he's like gone.
In the next in the next couple of scenes, he kind of just appears.
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Well, because why he used Katrina to act like he was dead, which I like how it was like premeditated. He was like, he literally says like, well, Katrina was just a good opportunity for me to go missing because he has gambling debt.
Right. This is the best part. He's being chased by a hit squad from this casino or whatever, being led by, I don't care what his character's name is, but being led by Discount Burt Reynolds.
It's so funny.
And his like 2-man squad.
They're so ridiculous.
It's just, I can't.
They're like the most.
They're not intimidating,
At
but
all.
he is intimidating, kind of, sort of, maybe.
But like, they're intimidating in the least realistic possible way.
Right.
Because at one point they go to an amusement park, and so they find them at the amusement park, and the point of like finding someone and being a villain in a public place is you're supposed to like be acting like everything's cool and like saying very like coded threatening things
right.
so that no one knows that you're like, but instead they come up, they stand like behind them at the table, and then they start like putting their arms around
right. You can't tell if they want to choke them out or give them a really big hug or give them a neck massage.
It is the most.
Oh, and then better yet, so Discount Burt Reynolds says his piece, right? And then they leave, and what the goon who's holding Jack by the neck, dumps his whatever Jack was drinking on his head, but does it really slowly, and then just like walks away. It's just like water drive. It was amazing.
It is just the most ridiculous thing.
But I mean, I guess this is like this is a Christian movie, so you can't have them I don't know, be hitmen.
Well, but that's the thing, is that they, like, it is just so bizarre. It's like someone who just has no context. It's almost like feels like someone with enough privilege that they can't even, like, think about being in a threatening situation for money. Like, it's just this idea that they would, like, be in a public place doing something that is so much more visually bizarre, and like the likelihood of someone seeing this happening and be like, whoa, what's going on here, guys?
And doing it in front of a little kid.
Yes,
I mean, have some decency,
and the
please.
thing that they're saying feels like more innocuous. It's like than you would normally have in that kind of scene. Like, it seems too innocuous what they're saying, and then their physical behavior is just completely wrong.
Right,
that scene
right.
is just completely wrong.
Right. No, it's so. Oh God, that was one of the many parts where I laughed out loud.
I did definitely.
This is gold. This is just amazing filmmaking.
Because it is so much more, like, looks more threatening than it probably would feel. Like, because you could do like a gun underneath like someone's like jacket.
Yeah,
or
but
something.
that would be classy.
Right, there would be like it
That's
would make
subtlety.
sense. Right. Well, because it's like you don't have to be subtle if you're in a private residence for this kind of thing.
Right.
But they're literally sitting in the middle of just a bunch of children at an amusement park. Like, there's no way that no one working there or just any random person who could see them, which is like hundreds of people, would be like, hey, what's happening here? Is everything okay? Like, what are you two doing? This feels weirdly menacing and maybe not appropriate for a place of children. So weird. And then in the climax where he finds Jesus, which, not to spoil him
Oh
finding
yeah,
Jesus, but
major
he does,
spoilers.
sorry.
Grandpa Cliff finds Jesus.
Which
Well,
I was like, is he gonna find Jesus? I was like thinking maybe he won't.
right. Well, okay. So before we
Yeah,
beep back up just a little bit. While all of this is going on, Cliff is on real thin ice at his job as a cabbie. Because
Right.
he just doesn't like to talk to people. He's cantankerous, And
Yeah, he's definitely cantankerous. And his boss just monologues in monotone. Oh
my God, yes.
I think he may be awarded with the worst acting in the movie.
You are on thin ice, Cliff. Okay, Tyrell. No, you don't understand. You had better not be putting that kid in your cab unless he is a fare. Okay, Tyrell.
So bad.
It's
Like,
just
the first time we meet him, it's a very long monologue that he literally, there is no inflection difference whatsoever, and it's just completely monotone. Like, it is as monotone as you could possibly be, and it's also like paced very evenly, so he's just saying everything in exactly the same level between words. There's no, and it just seems like he has no idea what he's saying. Like, he's just like he's reading off a piece of paper, trying very hard to not think at all about what he's saying at all. It's so funny. But yeah, so that's his boss at the cab company. Yeah, and we have Cliff is cantankerous at the beginning.
right. And Henry has kind of been foisted upon him, so he doesn't know what to do. So I'm hoping this movie takes place over the summer, and it looks like it does, because Henry just rides around with him in his cab, and I'm like, you're not going to put him in school or like find a program for him or okay, he's just going to ride in your cab. Okay, cool.
Which is, that is, I didn't even think of that, but that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is he doing? I mean, maybe it's summer.
It must be, it has to be. But because Henry is riding in Cliff's cab now, Cliff is actually getting tips, which is something he probably never got.
Right, because he was too cantankerous to get...
Right, because Henry is opening everybody up.
Right, well, it's you saying that, and that's not you inferring it. At one point, there's two different montages. One where it's just him, and they're like, don't keep the change. And, like, they're not tip. I think they, like, say there's something specific, but it, like...
Yeah, they're not going to tip him.
Right, and then we have also, like, at the beginning, we have a montage of people being like, hey, well, he's, like, going to find, like, he's just driving around solely to dig up treasure and, like, not to actually be a cab at all. And people are like, oh, and then we have this recurring lady who's so ridiculous again.
I don't even know how to begin with this lady. I'm not sure how to talk about
all
her.
over the place.
Yeah.
Because she, like, in the first scene we meet her, this is before we've met Henry and all, so it's just Cliff being Mr. Cantankerous treasure hunting guy, and he's like reading something about finding treasure or whatever, and like he's sitting in the front, obviously driving, and she comes in and he's like, oh, I'm on my lunch. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
I'm on my lunch.
Yeah.
And she's like, would you be on your lunch for a white person? And then he's like, oh no, it's not a racist thing.
I'm just on my lunch.
Right. Which, I mean, like, I don't know, I guess it makes sense that she would assume that. But, like, most of the time, I guess the stereotypical thing would be more him just to drive by like he did with the white people in the montage.
I don't know. I feel like maybe some of the passengers in his cab are modeled after people that he knew or people that he's met or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt like these people are so quirky and kind of exaggerated. I'm just wondering if there's some basis of reality there.
I mean, like, they're definitely exaggerated. I think, like, they could be more offensive stereotypes. It's not great. Like, it's definitely, you could tell it's a white person writing black characters, but I think you could probably do more harm. Probably.
Right. I think with this woman, he really wanted to say something about race, maybe. So he tried.
Well, yeah, it's like, he's kind of saying something more about, like, white fragility, honestly, and I don't know if it's all that, critiquing it. It seems more like just maybe from his perspective, a bit of white fragility, but I don't know. It is funny that she, like, because I don't know, it feels kind of problematic, but then I can't, like, pinpoint exactly where it is that it is. Like, it's just, like, feels like the stakes are very low for her when you're talking about something where that doesn't feel appropriate. Like, it feels like, like, being discriminated against with calves is, like, a real thing, and it's, like, not, and it's not, like, a low stakes or, like, you know, I mean, sort of, it's, I no, it's not low stakes, especially systemically, it's not low stakes, like, you know, and it is just kind of, like, the fact that he is just on his lunch, I guess, kind of, or, like, that he's saying that it has nothing to do with race, it is kind of problematic, because it's, like, people just do that maliciously, so to make it seem like we know he's not doing it maliciously, it kind of, like, detracts from the fact that it's like, you know, there are cab drivers who are actually discriminating, and it's not that they're just, like, cantankerous to everyone.
I don't know. I personally don't. Even when I was watching the movie and was like, well, we're gonna probably talk about this character, I still don't feel comfortable discussing.
Yeah,
honestly, because I'm not a person of color, and I just don't think I can speak to that character.
Oh, well, I will. I mean, I try. I'm just going to say from the things I know about the world, what I think, which, I mean, yeah, we can only speak to a certain level of, you know, things. But I do think that's, like, I don't know. I do like kind of pointing out things that are racist, because I think I would want a podcast that was, like, able people of color to point out things that are ableist.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird though, because it isn't blatantly racist. It is just a weirdly kind of
this
subtextually weird
tension. I don't know, but it was weird, and I felt uncomfortable.
I thought it was hilarious though. I just thought her character was so funny. She was just
I mean, I liked her. She's this really sweet lady. She likes Henry a lot.
Yeah, I kind of, like, you could tell that, like, maybe that, Brian Shoup did not feel for her character, but I did, just as a watcher. I was like, I get you. But you seem someone who at least is a little bit more, like, I don't know, just just doing saying things that are not just about Jesus. I don't know. Though she is, isn't it her church that they wind up going to? I think
so. Yeah.
But she doesn't say that much about Jesus. I love the second scene she's in because she actually also queued that one up so we can play
Yes,
it.
please. Yes, please.
Hello there. Who are you?
Me? I'm Henry. You think we look alike?
You all look alike. I just hope you don't all think alike. You're not all racist like he is, are you?
I'm only 10.
That's good. You know, you need to help this man out. He really needs it.
I do help him. I help him look for stuff.
Huh? What do you look for?
Henry.
Hey, now we were talking, and I believe you were not included in this conversation. Now, Henry, you just go right on ahead, and you hush.
It's a secret. Me and Cliff's secret.
Uh-huh.
We're friends.
You're friends with him? But let me tell you, he made out a whole lot better than you did on that deal.
I mean, that is my favorite line of the movie.
I love this woman. I think she's amazing.
But yeah, that was also my favorite scene because it's so ridiculous.
That's brilliant. That's listening to it, I can hear like all of the bad editing.
Yeah, I know.
And the voices. I mean, I think she's actually trying.
Yeah.
Like she has at least a little bit of intonation in her voice.
Right. She's one of the few actors in the movie that is like not just reading lines. Like she is actually thinking about what she's saying.
It sounds like she went home, studied her script, and tried to put a character together.
Yeah. And like, and maybe wasn't distracted by remembering the lines when saying them. Yeah. So that's, that is her character. I mean, some of it is kind of, problematic, stereotypical things, but it is. I just love that she's like, you may not better wrote that deal than he did. And I just love when characters like are like just don't like someone and like even if for a small reason, but they like vocalize how they don't like a particular character a lot. Like that is my favorite thing in comedy. I just love that so much. Like even if it's not a good justification, I just really appreciate characters who just hate another character.
Well, I mean, she is playing off the trope of the, she's the sassy black woman character.
That is definitely
a thing.
Yeah. And when I say but that is what I mean with the problematic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, thank you for clarifying what I said before. That's helpful. That it is definitely and it's you can tell it's a white person. It's like, just be like, this is how black people talk. So, not great, but but this movie's all about finding Jesus. So, I guess we're just taking the scraps.
I mean, basically, spoiler alert. The treasure that these three men find, well, Henry's not a man, but the treasure that these two men and Henry find is not an actual physical treasure. It's the treasure of their relationship.
Oh, I thought it was Jesus.
No, Jesus too. But
Jesus is a big one.
Jesus is a big one, but it is the rekindling and reconnecting of their relationship because
they're all estranged. Oh,
right,
and they have like cascading estrangement because we have two fathers. I mean, this is a big part of the movie. I'm not really just realizing it now. I just forgot. But yeah, you have like the double estrangement of, like Cliff from Jack and Jack from Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they never find an actual physical treasure. They never find it.
Yeah, they because. As we find out in so many flashbacks.
Yes. Oh, God.
The guy who's left for dead.
Virgil, who, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that a biblical thing? The Bible.
I mean, I know a little bit of
yeah, but
there's the story of Lazarus, but Lazarus was raised by Jesus. No, this is Virgil being smarter than the other two.
Right. It just sounded biblical, so I figured I'd check. But... yeah, so he's left for dead because he's shot at one point, but then he's not dead. His eyes open. And is it at that point that we see that because did they move the treasure? Or I don't know. They keep looking for the treasure and they're like, oh, Tulsa wouldn't even be here. And this is like an hour into the movie. They're like, you wouldn't have Tulsa back in 1860, whatever. Like, so all the things that we're using are bad, like, markers. And I'm like, wait, what? How is this just occurring to you now? Why did you think that, like, the amusement park was going to be here in 1860?
I mean, for someone who is supposed to be obsessed with treasure,
He's so bad at it.
he's not great at it, and he is obsessed with something, antiques and antiquing, not treasures. Like, make him an antique hunter. I mean, I get it, the fact that this treasuring is super alluring, and yeah, who wouldn't want to find it, I guess. But
I mean, maybe he's an antiquer who became a treasure hunter based on having that chest that he got
Could
from an
be.
antique place. It's
Who
not
knows?
super clear.
I don't
He is
know.
reading a bunch of books at the library and then at his house about treasure finding. At one point, he sees in a book it says they did it like this. It would sometimes hide it in nursery rhymes, but rarely would they ever actually have a physical map. And he likes. This is my favorite part. Also, he like slams the book.
yes,
onto
yes,
the ground.
he's so frustrated.
No, they don't leave a message.
Dad, gummit. Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
so great. I love that. So I just anytime this is also like bad like film school things I love when someone just gets really angry
And they
about
just start
something.
throwing
and
stuff.
They throw something.
I get really angry too. Very rarely will I pitch something across the room.
I know.
I've
that's
done
like-
it before, but I don't. That's not a habit.
It is one of those, I like to collect things that happen just so disproportionately in movies than in real life. Like professions that are far more people in movies have this profession than in TV.
Oh,
than
like
in real life.
architects.
Yeah, especially in the 90s. Yeah.
So many architects.
But in this case, we have the classic cliche of just throwing a book or some items.
Because it's all about indication. It's show don't tell.
Yeah.
Or sorry, yeah, no,
Yeah,
show
don't tell.
show don't tell is a good thing, but being indicative is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you're showing, not telling, but it's kind of like you've just gotten the most obvious things
Right.
that everyone like. Yeah, it's like you're using the music that comes with iMovie or whatever. That
Oh
kind
my
of cliche
gosh,
thing.
yes.
That-
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I guess you're technically using music, but
Now I was thrown a little bit for a loop because we see what's happening with Virgil and how he gets up and pretends to be dead or whatever and goes after the treasure, and then you also see Jack, because Jack and Cliff and Henry have been fixing this old car after Cliff loses his job as a cabbie. They fix up this old car, and then Jack in the middle of the night takes the car away and rides off in the night. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess he's out of the picture then.
right. But no, he's going to find the treasure.
He's going to find the treasure, yeah.
Which
yeah.
I knew that he was doing that. Mm-hmm. But then he doesn't find anything.
No, he gets the crap beat out of him by the Hitman Squad.
Well, he first like falls or something.
Oh, right, because that was another very terrible edit.
Yeah, it's very confusing because he's like blood on his shirt.
Yeah, and then
Does he fight with them at the treasure place?
Maybe, because all you see
Forgot.
is like the scene just stops, and then you hear this really weird, and then a sound of a fall.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, because it's like obvious they didn't shoot something that they probably should have. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We'll just ADR that in post. Hey,
definitely.
No, don't do that.
And I think he does then, because it is so unclear, have to explain in the next scene what happened. But I think you're right that they come follow him back to the house as well. So we see two different. Well, we don't see two different stand-ups. We see one of them. The other one is just, and then it cuts. But yeah, so I guess there is no treasure, but then I think maybe they also, I don't know though. I don't remember now.
Okay, so the hitmen come to the house and they hog tie
Right.
Cliff and
That I remember.
Jack. Yeah, and then they take Henry as collateral, and they give them.
Which they're like kidnapping a child.
Yes.
They're not even related to the child. I feel like this would be like an Amber Alert instantly. Like, you know, just like,
Sure,
just
yeah.
take a child.
Yeah. So they do that, and they give the guys 12 hours to come up with $17,000 because that's what Jack owes these people, I guess.
Right. And he
So-
doesn't like being in Tulsa, this guy.
Right. God hates it. Wow, I was surprised. I was like, okay, wow, okay. Anyway, this is the best part of the movie because this is literally, I had to pause it so that I could yell to nobody about how we resolved this plot. Because obviously we stated there's no treasure. So
Right.
this, and Cliff can't pay rent, barely.
Yeah.
The only reason
But
he hasn't gotten evicted is because
because he's
Henry's
a blind
Yeah.
child, which,
Yeah.
like, oh, if only the world worked
I
like that.
know,
If only it
right?
wasn't that, oh, you're poor, we're going to take the child
Mm-hmm.
away. Like, the idea that that's how the world works is
Yeah,
very
yeah.
disturbing,
Well,
that they're so unaware of how the world actually
Yes,
works.
and the fact that the DHS agent is like, oh, it's better for the child to remain in the home. And I'm like, hang on. No. They would take that child like the day after he was dropped off at that house. They would come in and take the kid.
Yeah, and well, like sometimes it's like, yeah, if you're related, that can help a little bit depending on the situation. But like, no one would be like, oh, you can't pay rent and you also might have your child taken away. Well, because your child is disabled, we're gonna just look past the can't pay rent thing. Like, that is not how the government works. Like, if we had a welfare system, maybe, but like, we do not. Like, that is not happening in America. Like, this is not Sweden. Like, we don't, none of this is realistic at all. Like, I was just like, it really bothered me because I was like, that's not,
Yeah.
that's a problem that the world, like, yeah, it would be great if that's how life was, but
But
it's
it
not in
doesn't.
this country, so.
No. So they're hogtied, and then of course we have the very poignant and very important come to Jesus moment,
Literally.
because that's what happens to Cliff
Yes.
when he's thinking about Henry. He has his epiphany. So we find out that Rodney, like this ancillary character who has popped up 2 or 3 times
Who is he?
during the movie. I don't know if he's the landlord's daughter or son, or lives in the house next door to Cliff. I don't know, but him and Cliff hang out.
Yeah, they're like friends. It's so
Yeah,
confusing.
they-
You never
it's
figure out
so
who
weird.
he is.
They do like dude bro things or whatever. And
Right, you
Cliff,
think it's like his son at
But
the
it's
beginning,
not.
but it's not, and it's
And-
like probably not a relative, like
No.
unless it's like it's nephew or something.
yeah. Well, and Rodney and Cliff bond over antiques, and Cliff shows Rodney all these like super cool old coins that he has. So Rodney has been out while Cliff is gone, and he just leaves this message, and he's like, oh yeah, I went to this guy, this dealer, and I showed him your coins, and he said they was worth a lot of money, so I sold them. Hope you're not mad. Sorry. So he sells the coins, and guess what? Guess how much the coins were worth?
The exact amount,
$17,000.
which is only shown by a check. So I'm like, my guess is it's the same amount because I can't
Yes,
see.
I couldn't see it either, but I think someone actually
they
he
do
actually
say it
says
later.
$17,000.
But it's also like I had already forgotten how much money they owed them, especially because they picked 17.
Mm-hmm. It's such a
What
weird number. Yeah. But okay, here's the thing that got me all twisted. This man is 2 months behind on his rent. He has a child that has come into his life. He has
no job.
He has no job. He has an estranged son and the child's father that has come into his life. And apparently his house is chock-a-block full of antiques that are priceless and are worth a crap ton of money, and he's done nothing about it. Yes, I love my possessions too. I love the things that I've collected too. But if I was destitute or going to be, and I found out that all of my stuff was worth, thousands of dollars, bye-bye.
Well, also,
I'm
like,
selling
he's
it.
spending the whole time looking for treasure, gold, but just as gold. Mm-hmm. So, like, what does he want the gold for other than to sell it? Like, I
mean,
assumed
yeah.
it was
It's-
to get the money.
It's the moral of the story. The treasure isn't the treasure that you're looking for. It's the treasure that's all around
except
you.
for you literally need money in the plot to, like,
Right.
to keep the kid. So it is actually, like, a true
But
capitalist.
Yeah, but I'm just like, are you serious? And then he's giving the check to Discount Burt Reynolds in the car, or in the driveway, and Discount Burt Reynolds counts the money and is like, "How did you do this?" And Cliff looks
like,
back at him and
I pray.
prayer, and I'm like, "No, No, you did not.
Oh,
you
see,
did
I was
not.
like, when that happened, I was like, yes, do it, say it, say it it was Jesus.
I knew it was coming. But I was so angry. I'm like, you prayer? Rodney saved your ass by selling those coins.
Because I was like, no, prayer, you had to say Jesus. That is what I wanted, but you didn't say Jesus. I just love when people are like, get really excited about Jesus. But it's just prayers.
Oh, it just made me so mad. So I was like, you
He
did
has to
nothing.
say it was
You
Jesus.
did nothing.
It has to be Jesus. Well, also, like, at that point, he's tied up, which also, the guy is like, I want my money and I hate Tulsa, so I'm going to give you just half a day so you can find a way to get the money so I can still get my money, because if I kill you, then it doesn't help me, because I won't get any money from killing you. Like, I really would rather just have the money. And then he's like, he has them tied up when he's saying all this. And then he's like, okay, you have 12 hours. He leaves and he's like, aren't you going to untie us, Cliffus? And he's like, nah, it doesn't matter. And then you're just like, wait a second, why are you giving them 12 hours? The whole point is for them to go and do stuff. It does matter.
Right.
Like, you just said it matters.
It doesn't matter to him, because Discount Burt Reynolds knows in his soul, or at least
That he
thought
won't
he
get
did,
the money?
that they won't get the money.
Which then, why is he giving him 12 hours? The whole point of giving him 12 hours
Maybe
was so that he could get the money, because that is what he actually wants.
I don't know. Maybe he's sadistic or something. I don't freaking know.
It makes literally no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense, but there it is.
Yeah, no, it is completely, yeah, that kind of stuff makes me the most mad. I'm like, you obviously care about him being able to get the money. You wouldn't give him more time. Which also, like, that makes sense, that he wants, like, that's the most important thing is the money. So he's willing to give a little bit more time, because it is true, if you kill someone, they're not gonna, like, give you the money you need. And, like, it is better to threaten them in that situation. If you're a criminal, but anyway, yeah, so doesn't make any sense. But then he's like tied up and just prays to Jesus.
Yeah, and that
and then he gets the money.
that truly heartfelt scene. Yeah, and
That is so
it is.
dark.
Oh, it's so dark. I could barely see anything. Luckily, he was speaking, so I know. I guess I know what's going on, but
Yeah, it is
incredibly dark.
Yeah, it is completely. Luckily, that scene, everyone keeps saying what's going on, which is helpful.
And that in that whole scene, they're shooting that scene in the living room of Cliff's house. Do they just like, we got natural light and lamps? Let's go. There's no.
It is so bad.
There's no light in that scene, so I'm thinking, okay, so they didn't have light stands, they didn't have a light set up.
It is so, but it's like they didn't even turn on the lights that are in the shot.
No, they just turned on a couple of lamps.
Yeah.
That's it.
It is so weird, because they're like having a conversation about like getting money. Like, it's something that you would definitely have the lights on
right,
for.
it's a very important conversation.
Yeah, and it's like also they're just sitting on the couches, so you would think one of them would be like, oh, I'm gonna turn on the light.
Oh, and then Henry comes waddling out the hallway with this old Confederate gun, or I don't know if it's Confederate, but this old
so
gun.
horrifying.
I was terrified. This is no.
He's just holding, like, that is what's wrong with this country, is that you would have this child would be able to just hold the blind child as a gun that's on the lockbox.
Granted, this was the gun that Cliff got at the thrift store, so I'm assuming it wasn't loaded. It probably doesn't work. It's an antique. Still terrifying.
Yeah, it's true. We don't really know that, though, I guess. We just can assume. But maybe it has to be, because Chekhov's gun says it has to go off and it doesn't, so.
Well, Chekhov never met Brian Shoop.
Yeah, really just bucking at the... But it is such a Southern thing. I was like, oh God, it's funny, because of, like, Chekhov's gun, every time I see a gun, I'm like, oh, I don't want gunshots. I'm like, and sometimes when it doesn't happen, I'm like, okay, well, Chekhov's gun says this is bad, but I kind of am happy that I didn't. There was no gunshots in this. But yeah, it is also very dangerous that this movie is a blind child with a gun, and everyone's like, oh, don't do that, like, but also just like, yeah, well, but this kind of stuff's bound to happen with a blind child. Of course, they're gonna just pick up a random gun that's just sitting on the fucking table.
Well, and then there's that moment when Henry gets his arm broken in 3 places, which is shot
So
so poorly.
ridiculous.
So they're looking for the treasure, the father and the son and Henry, and they're being cased by Rodney and his group of friends or whatever.
Yeah, they're just like friends.
We never see them again. And the kids are convinced that they have found the treasure. So they all just bolt over in this
Stampede.
crowd and just run Henry the fuck over. And you know what? That was even more terrifying than the gun, because that is my worst fear, is just being trampled by a crowd of people that doesn't
yeah.
give a crap and
That
about
is
whether
funny.
I'm blind or not.
Right, because I was thinking, like, they can see, so they should be able to do this.
And they've met Henry before. Rodney's met him.
Which, like, I can easily never bump into people, so I have no sympathy for sighted people who can't handle it. It's like, come on, you can see.
The only reason they needed his arm broken is because they just needed one more thing to pile on Cliff for the plot. Because then the DHS
Yeah.
lady is like, well, maybe we should take Henry away.
Right. Which is like, yeah, and that's not really, there's not really a good payoff to that, other than it's just like, oh, he's on hot water.
Yeah.
Or in hot water.
Yeah.
That's not the right phrase. But yeah, it's, I guess, yeah, because it like brings up the stakes, but then the resolution, you would think that him getting kidnapped would, like, that the DHS subplot would get involved in that in any way. Like, that's like, once he gets kidnapped, DHS is like, yeah, whatever. It's like, you would think that that would be the main thing they would, of the whole movie, the kidnapping feels like the thing the DHS would be the most interested in getting involved with. Like, him getting stampeded, like a blind kid, like, that's like a problem with society, not necessarily the parenting. I mean, like, you know, I mean, maybe, I guess you can always argue, like, it's like, you took your kid to a Black Friday sale, you knew they were going to get stampeded, or, you know, I guess you can always make the argument that someone did child abuse anytime some, like, random, like, bad thing happened to them, but it's just so silly, because it was like, also, there was not that many people, and that I just did not believe
this
at all.
was a crowd of what, 7-8 people maybe?
Yeah.
And they all had to collectively decide, we're going to run this kid over.
Right, because they also, like, it's not that they weren't that far away from it, and they also, there was a hole that they were running to, so like, you would think when they get close to the hole that would be when they're especially aware of their surroundings, so you don't want to just like fall into a hole.
Well, I guess they're all just treasure blind.
Yeah, isn't that phrase meaningful in any way? I was trying to think before.
No, it's just a stupid play on words.
Is
honestly.
it though?
I mean,
Is it a play on words? Is what I'm wondering.
well, I mean, treasure blind. Henry's blind. They're looking for treasure. The characters are blinded by treasure. They don't know that the treasure that is
But that's not
there
like
is
a
all around them.
phrase. Treasure blind and blind
I've
treasure.
never,
Neither of those are phrases.
I've never used that phrase. No.
It sounds like it's like a pun of some kind. You know, it sounds like it's like has a double meaning, but no, it's literally just like, there's a blind character in this movie. They also are looking for treasure. What should we call it? Treasure blind. It's not. There's no subtextual meaning. It's just literally two things in the movie.
Right. Oh, of course. And we end with the money has been paid off. Cliff goes to his...
Well, we didn't talk about
sorry.
the big reveal. No, with the money being paid off, we didn't talk
Yeah.
about the big reveal is that the third soldier that runs off.
Oh my God, you're
is the one,
right.
because that's what I thought you were going to say before.
Yes,
is
and I didn't because I was holding back. You're right. So yeah, we find out that the coins went to someone who runs a museum called the Elias Foundation, named after Virgil Elias, who was the soldier that took off with the original treasure.
Right. So he kind of found the treasure, which like then it's literally you just found the paper trail of the treasure. Like you kind of, it wasn't that you found out that the treasure was Jesus or the blind kid. You literally just found the literal treasure, but in the way of an organization that probably kind of problematic since it was founded by a Confederate soldier.
Yeah, I don't
the
really
most-
understand how this whole thing works because Virgil totally stole the treasure, no doubt.
Yeah, it is
So
true. It
he
was like
deceived
stolen
the
goods.
other two. Yeah, so I don't.
It's like Germany or something. They do that kind of shit.
I don't know. Yeah, but we find out that happened, and Cliff must have sold more of his treasures because he goes to the landlady's house, and pays her back.
Yeah, women can't be lords, can they? Is lord gendered?
Well, yeah, lord and lady.
Yeah, I guess so.
Landlord is just It's
I
men,
just
men or
forget-
women, but yeah.
I forget that. That's the thing is I thought it was funny because I forget landlord is gendered at all. Sorry. Yeah, but he goes over to the landlady's house.
Yep, and pays her back the money.
Right, for rent, which also I just kept being like, okay, so now we've sold off the treasure you've like amassed. This is not like this is not a very good foolproof plan that's going to continue to pay dividends.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because we find out at the very end of the movie what he does with the treasure.
Right, and that is when right. Well, what he does with the treasure is not actually how he's going to technically get money. It's all kind of wrapped up in the end. But like we have like he found Jesus, which again I really was bummed out that at the beginning he wasn't like anti-Jesus. He was just very lukewarm about Jesus.
You wanted one of those movies.
I really wanted that. I really wanted his finding Jesus to be a real difference. Where he like never ever says anything about Jesus until like the climax.
He just kind of comes back to Jesus. Like
yeah, but he's like,
you know.
you never get a really good sense. He's like, why are you singing these church songs to Henry? But then it's like it could just be that because Henry's not a great singer.
No, but again,
He's sweet, but-
he's very sweet. I have a lot of trouble coming down on a child actor because I'm like, he's a literal child.
Well, yeah, and it's also like they cast him so they could think about if they wanted someone to be able to sing, and kids can get away with not being great singers,
right? Well, and I wasn't even sure. I kept questioning myself: like, is he blind? Is he not blind? And then you see him walk around in Cliff's house for the first time, and when he's feeling his way from the bathroom to the guest room, it hit me. Oh, I think he's actually blind.
Yeah, I could tell he was blind, but it is funny because it is so funny. You can always tell because of the way the actual blind actors look all around, as opposed to just looking without moving their eyes. Like blind actors move their eyes a lot more than sighted actors do playing blind characters, which is very funny.
And I kept doubting myself because Cliff takes him out to eat and gives him food and everything, and Cliff isn't saying your plate is at 12 o'clock and your burger's at 6 o'clock and your drink is at 7 o'clock. That I just found really weird because he just kind of scarfs the food. So I'm thinking, okay, can he see?
Well, yeah, it is kind of funny because like at least those are like right in front of him for the most part, and he's usually not looking at the food. Yeah. It is kind of funny. Every scene we see them, Henry has food and then Cliff does not, and is like randomly eating from his plate. It's like, why don't you order food?
Maybe
dude?
he doesn't have the money. Maybe he only has the money to feed Henry.
That's kind of, I guess that would make sense contextually. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Well, that makes it seem like it's more thought out probably than it is. So we'll say that. Sure. I wonder though, he must be hungry all the time if all he's getting is like a couple fries.
Oh, I know. But hey, now he's got that sweet, sweet treasure money. So
right. Well, because he gets he finds Jesus. He goes to church, which is like, this church is like kind of weird. We have like a few rows of white people and a few rows of only black. It's a very weird dynamic.
I guess having grown up in church and gone to non-denominational churches, that's what a non-denominational church looks like.
That's okay. That could be.
I'm not saying we all sat in rows, like specially coordinated rows, but that's a non-denominational church.
That makes sense. It's in. Is Alaska? Does it have a different kind of makeup just because it's
Alaska?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have the same level of like segregation.
I mean, you have. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know a lot about the civil rights movement in Alaska, because you learn a lot about what happened, in the South, and you learn a lot you learn a little about what happened to the Alaska Native people.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because we
treated
them terribly.
Yes. It's kind of like California. We similarly treated our Native people terribly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway.
So you learn about that, but as far as religious makeup, you got your usual stuff. And then you have a lot of Russian Orthodox.
Right, that's what I was gonna. Yeah, I remember that from being in Alaska.
Mm-hmm. Because Russians were the first people to explore Alaska, the first non-native. Colonized. Thank you is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, Sarah Palin.
Don't get me started on Sarah Palin. Anyway, there's a lot of Russian Orthodox churches and communities in the state of Alaska.
So are non-denominational, would they be the Russian?
No, Russian Orthodox is Russian Orthodox.
Right.
Non-denominational is a catch-all. It's
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't really necessarily want to fit under a umbrella. I'm not a Catholic. I'm not a Pentecostal. I am not a Baptist. I'm not a Lutheran. I am not a the M1 that I can never remember. What the one my grandma is. Not Mennonite. Crap.
Not Mormon.
Not Mormon. There's, although I know we have Mormons because I had some Mormon friends.
Methodist.
Methodist. Thank you.
I know the M.
Nice job. Nice job. Yeah. So we have all of those, but we also have a lot of Russian Orthodox, which is really cool.
Because, okay, so I'm like very ignorant in this, and then I grew up in California in an atheist household. I did go to the UU church, which was a very specific
we
thing.
had one of those in Fairbanks and one in Anchorage, I assume.
That I could see that. Yeah, they actually, it's not very like specifically libertarian, but I could also see it having a kind of libertarian bent in certain contexts, even though that's not really a part of it that much. But there is a lot of like not proselytizing, so they kind of fits in with that. I don't know why to me Alaska equals libertarian just as the same exact thing,
which you would be correct.
So yeah, but I'm like, I want to like speak to a like the southern like different like racial dynamics of Christian churches. I want to be able to speak to that. I truly cannot, so I feel like I have to maybe stop. That's maybe my limit because I'm realizing just how little context I have to know. But yeah,
there were, I mean, as someone who went to church, non-denominational church, there were people of all colors. There were people of all backgrounds. It's just a place for anyone. That's why my dad liked it so much, is because anyone can go.
And so the church in the movie looked like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that was it.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been, who knows? It could have been whatever church. I'm sure it was one of the local churches that he was probably friends with.
Yeah,
and he just shot there.
Right. I think that's probably right. So I think a lot of the people in the movie were volunteers.
They would have to be.
Yeah. So I wonder if it is like a church. Like, many of them were volunteers from the church. I also love, like, I've never looked up reviews of Christian movies before, but every single review is just so positive.
Welcome to the world of Christian movie reviews. It's insane.
It's so funny. There's, like, I read, like, 3 of them that were literally just like, this is a review of the movie, and then it would just say the plot, and then it would be over, and I was like, wait, where's the review of the movie?
Right, that is a summary.
And then other ones would be like, this is so great. And then it would like summarize the plot, and then it would be like, it's about Christianity. Like, they would like sometimes like go very still very far from any sort of critique, but like they would just like touch upon like, oh, you know, it was made on a shoestring budget, and then like, this is why that's great. Also, this is the plot of the movie.
I for funsies, sometimes I still do this. I used to frequent this website way back when I was actually religious, called Plugged In Movie Reviews. I'm not saying you should visit this website because they're a company. They're run by Focus on the Family, which is the devil and evil. But their movie reviews are hilarious because it's everything is from a very religious perspective.
I feel like as a kid we would read these for fun.
Yeah, because it's not. It's only a review in the last like 3 paragraphs. Everything else is this point by point by point by point breakdown of sex and violence, drugs, they and like swears.
Well, there's one where they count the swear words, which I love. That was so fun.
The best, if you really want to laugh, the best thing to do is look up reviews for like South Park the movie and The Departed, and just really violent movies. Or movies with a lot of sex. They used to have a podcast, which I actually would listen to.
I would listen to that
on a regular basis. Honestly, I wasn't listening to make fun of them, which I did very often. But I also I want to hear everybody's perspective. I listen to a lot of movie podcasts.
I want to laugh at everyone's perspective.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to hear what
they
some of these people thought. Yeah, and did I agree with everything? Oh, hell no. Usually I didn't.
But it is kind of fun to hear people talk about that stuff when you're like, oh, whoa, that's so... I mean, I also just really like, a lot of times when I hear an opinion I do not understand, my first thing is like, why do they think that? And people always think that I'm asking it rhetorically, and I have to be like, no, I'm genuinely... This is truly, I want to understand. This is not even being judgmental. I'm just, this is fascinating because I do not understand why someone would think this. Right. And that means I want to know why. It is a true question. But yeah, it's fascinating.
I believe the website still exists, but I know they're not doing their podcast anymore because I think they ran out of money. Oh God. Okay. I think we're done. I want to be done. Can we be done?
Wait, Melissa, we're forgetting the most important thing that we have to do.
Oh yeah?
We have to find Jesus. We need to pray to him.
Oh, no.
Well, it's near the end of the podcast. We have to do it.
Right. We
have to. If we don't do it now, then, like, more bad things are going to happen to us. Yeah. If we want a happy ending to this podcast, we cannot get there without accepting Jesus and praying to him.
This movie would not make me want to do that.
Yeah, but we do have to talk about the other very small loose ends at the very end of the movie.
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. So we find out what he did with the treasure.
The rest of the money.
Yep. He started a cab company, Father and Sons Cab Company.
Well, doesn't he actually give the money to
He gives some of it to the church.
Right. Well, he doesn't give it just to he gives it to the pastor, but he's like, this is not for you.
It's not for you. Make sure God gets it. And the pastor's like, oh yeah, I will. And then I'm just like, right. I'm jaded by far too many televangelists to trust anyone.
I felt the same way about it.
My stomach turned a little bit. But yeah, and then he starts a cab company. And then he drives off into the sunset, and that should be the last shot of the movie, but it isn't. We get a bunch of random fucking shots of random fucking buildings with some random fucking clouds, and then the movie ends.
I forgot about that.
Oh my gosh, it just goes on and on and on, and I'm like, stop. The cab driving off into the sunset is a good perfect ending. Yeah. Yep. He focuses in on this cloud, and I'm like, is this God? Is this supposed to be
it's
heaven?
God.
Is this? Why?
From the beginning of the movie, in that terrible shot that's so obviously filmed in a different location with that guy, where you just see clouds behind him. It's like a callback to that.
I can't.
It is cute because Father and Sons Cab Company, though. That's it's all about fathers and sons. And you know what also is a father and son duo that we know about?
Oh, no.
Jesus and God.
No, you did it to me again. Oh.
Wait, I just brought up Jesus, or I pointed out a Jesus thing?
Yes, you pointed it out and I missed it.
Really?
I completely missed it.
Well, because it's like a lot of the emotional dynamic at the heart of it is sort of like a grandson and grandfather dynamic. So it's actually kind of doesn't really fully track, because that is kind of like the center of it. So it is kind of like, because I had to be like, okay, father and sons, I guess they are like father. It is about two different fathers and they're two different sons. So okay. But at first I was like, you're just trying to make a Jesus God pun. So it is funny that was the first thing I thought. But yeah, so yeah, that's the movie. Yeah,
we did it. What say we rate this puppy?
Yeah. Oh, do we want to say what we would do to make it better? Maybe more devil. Put some devil in it.
Yeah. I mean, the major things that I would address would be all of the technical issues.
Yeah.
I'm not saying your movie has to look like you shot it on film and it has to cost $100 million, but there are indie filmmakers who have made movies for less money.
Yeah.
That are awesome.
The mix is banned in a way that does not feel like it was on set. Like, it feels like the mix is banned in a way that could be fixed in post. Like, it's a cliche that the joke is that a lot of things can't be fixed in post. The mix could have been at least somewhat fixed in post. Like, there was a lot of things they did not do.
Yeah, and it sounds like going through post made the mix worse.
Yeah, it is. Like, and you have to wonder, like, I kept being like, okay, what did they fuck up with? Like, or is it just the editor sucks? Like, it was I couldn't figure it out. Because a lot of times I was like, I don't even know what problem they ran into. Like, so it makes me think that the person doesn't know how to edit, because I can't think of why the footage they had would need to produce this. Technical issues.
Yeah, and after you fix all of the technical bugs, oof. Story-wise, it's not a bad story, really. I mean, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes,
Some
for the most
sense.
part, it makes some sense. I guess I would use your flashbacks more wisely.
Yeah, shorten the flashbacks.
There's too many flashbacks.
I mean, we do, as a blind character,
Henry doesn't really have that much to
doesn't
do.
do a lot. Yeah,
It's-
he's such an important part of the movie theoretically, but his actual actions are pretty limited in what he's actually doing.
It's about the people who he touches and who he opens up, and it's not necessarily about Henry, which is it's kind of sad, because you're just kind of it's just you're putting a disabled person there, and then everybody just becomes better and changes because
And you don't
all
really
of it-
even show why.
right, just because all of a sudden, oh, there's a disabled person.
Right. Which is like, it's funny because like inspirational things are problematic enough, but this doesn't even go the full step
Yeah,
of like
yeah, I
having a
can't-
reason to be inspirational.
I can't even call it inspirational porn because it's
Like,
not.
yeah. Which, I mean, I guess it would be more annoying if everyone was like, you're blind, but you could still do stuff. Like, that would be far more annoying.
Yeah,
But
but at
you're
least-
still just being there like, why are they, what is the thing about him? He just seems like a kid.
This movie,
kinda bland.
this movie commits the ultimate sin, and is boring.
It is
It's
pretty boring.
just
It is
boring.
disappointingly boring. I wish it was a lot more. I mean, honestly, how I would fix it is really lean into the Jesus stuff and make it so that there was a giant difference between when he didn't have Jesus and when he did, and make the blind I want to say put more problematic blind things because I would find it funny. But like, I think maybe, I mean, to be realistic about the blind character, have him more doing stuff. I think when you have the blind character being a kid, you're always going to run into the problem that part of the problem with blind characters is when we infantilize them, and part of like the ableism of the world is infantilizing blind
Right.
people.
I think the first thing you should do is I'd age Henry up.
Yeah. And I think that would give him at least more agency. It would probably, if that was the movie, just given all the things, would make him more problematic, given the same, all the same people working on it. It would become more problematic because they like, here you're like, oh, he's being infantilized, but he's a child, so it's fine. Like,
Well, because wouldn't it have been cool if Henry came up with the fact that Cliff has all those old coins and he should sell them, because then he's doing something. Rodney figures that out. Rodney, a character we see all of 3 times.
Yeah, and like part of it is like we have Henry trying to figure out the mystery of the poem, which like it's very unclear because it's very unclear how much that poem actually solved where the goal. It's very hard to track, but he doesn't. Yeah, Henry doesn't have a single epiphany that like helps lead the story through, which is
He's
like
just-
people keep having to do things, and he doesn't do
Right.
any of the things
He's
to
just
keep the story
good,
going.
He's the good, innocent little moral compass of the story.
Yeah, he could definitely be. Yeah, because I was expecting him, because he finds the Braille, and so that's the one thing that like is like, okay, we need him to find the Braille on the treasure map, and that's like at the very beginning. So if he kept like using his like knowledge to do things to move the treasure hunt forward, but then also to like get like the coin, I think that's a good one, like of just having him be the more of a driver. And kidnapping him is just, that did not work with me. I mean, like, you threaten to kill these guys, just threaten to kill them. Like, why are you kidnapping the kid? Like, that just puts way too much heat on you. Like, It just seems such it's like such a choice to like kidnap a child, like a disabled
Yeah, but
child.
it's such a choice to kill a child.
No, but my point was like they were threatening to kill the Cliff and
Right. And Jack.
Jack. So like that is one thing, and then you could be like, you're not killing the disabled child, but to kidnapping a disabled child feels it's a thing that feels like you're really setting a lot of things into motion that maybe you don't want to be dealing with if you're just trying to like get money from someone. I don't know, whatever. But like,
no, it was a bad plan. You got that right. It was a bad plan all around.
Yeah, so maybe have it a little bit more, and again, it's like he's a plot device because of what the adults are doing. It's supposed to like actually having him give him a agency at all, and also it's not cool to be keeping secrets with a kid. Like that's like literally what like child molesters do. Like that's never good.
It's just our little secret. It just feels weird.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know. That happens sometimes in movies, and it always makes me angry. I'm like, this is not okay. You cannot be telling children to keep secrets for you of like your behavior. Like that is not. We do not want to set a precedent that's like okay, because that is truly like a big part of like how child molesters continue to molest people. So I don't know. Makes me mad. But yeah, so get rid of that. Yeah. So this is a lot of random things. I mean, I'm just glad we found Jesus through this movie. It's so good that he found Jesus. I wanted the miracle to be not propelled by any character. Because if Jesus is always the climax, then you get to do whatever Deus Ex Machina you want.
Exactly. That's why it's so much fun. That's why it's a Deus Ex Machina. Yeah. I mean, I guess Rodney is kind of the Deus Ex Machina, but
it like fits with the story.
It's
I just
so
wanted
boring.
it to be like a miracle.
And I'm kind of glad it wasn't that, because that just is so
I mean, it's
outlandish.
a bad storytelling.
Yeah.
But it would have been that we could make fun of it more.
Right.
But yeah.
I think that's why this has been so rough, is because there's just really not, I mean, there's a lot to make fun of, don't get me wrong, but
it's not as like clear cut. A lot of things to make fun of are kind of what it doesn't do more than what it does do, and that's always less fun. Like it's like, oh, you invoke this, but then you didn't really have enough like smarts to cultural knowledge, I guess, to really do a good job at evoking whatever you're evoking, but like, that's not that fun to talk about. So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to start picking bad movies again so I don't have to do it.
I don't know, this one was not it's bad. This one's pretty bad.
Well, you have to do a better job of me then. You have to go back to your old ways.
Okay.
No, I'll try to pick like very understated foreign films.
Perfect. And you pick the foreign films, I'll pick the shit.
Yeah. Any good movies that are from the U.S. With blind characters, never gonna cover. No, it's just no time. Just a blind spot, you could say. So do we want to do ratings? I can go first.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm gonna give this movie 20/25. I mean, you got a blind actor. I feel like that's like for us feels at this point like a high bar to reach. So that's good. For many of the things we've talked about already, like, and I think especially the stuff about him being a kid, I think means that you are kind of giving yourself, it's like bumpers in bowling, like you're really giving yourself a lot more leeway to do stuff. So that is, I mean, in sort of account against it. I think, he doesn't do a lot. And it's, but it's not like, I think I'm not giving it a 20/20 because I feel like sometimes I want to give 20/20 to things that are a little bit more like on the problematic side, where it's like, this isn't necessarily harmful. Like, it doesn't fall into some of the traps that we always talk about. Like, it's not like about him really overcoming anything. Like, he is pretty functioning as a kid. Like, it is inspirational sort of, but it doesn't fully commit to it even. So it's just kind of like meh, but I'm giving it the 5 for like having an actual blind actor. and not being too egregious. But yeah, I think that's overall. And eye lines, fuck yeah, blind actor. I love the like looking all around. It's beautiful. So keep it up, blind actors.
Yes.
Okay, what is your rating?
Yeah, I honestly thought you'd go a little lower. That's really cool. I'm sitting at a 2024 actually.
Nice.
Just because I'm giving it more than just 2020 because of the casting of the blind actor. I think that is awesome. Well done you to be awesome and make that choice, because not everybody is doing it. More people, very few are doing it. More people should do that. I think that's great. I think the thing that hampers this film for me personally is a lot of the technical stuff. Honestly, it drives me crazy, and I think it's so hard because this film is not made for me. We are not the audience for this film.
You were not writing a little paragraph about how the plot of it. No, it's great.
Right. I'm not. Yeah, we're not the audience for this film. There is an audience that loves and appreciates this film. So I'm giving it a 2400. I think they need to fix.
Wait, a 2024?
Sorry, 2024. I'm sorry.
I was like, wow, it just got way up.
No, sorry. I'm giving it a 2024. Because it was an effort. He tried. I think the technical stuff needs to be fixed, but I can't say that. I mean, the story it's a story. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's just nothing super egregious about it. It's fine. It's not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
It would be hard to recommend to someone, at least in my circle, because they would never watch it.
I think I would not. I would have the potential to recommend this to people as a like, this is so bad, but it's not bad enough. So it's like, I don't think I would recommend it. I think there's probably better Christian movies that are like
that are more fun, more fun to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So nice try.
Yeah, it's cute effort. That he like retired and made movies. Like once the kids are out of the house, that's adorable.
Really cool. The story of how the movie got made is almost more interesting than the actual movie's plot itself.
Yeah, they should have done a movie. I'm trying to remember because I think he had like a job that was like a. I wish I could remember what it was now, but I feel like
good on him. Good on Brian for doing what he loves, no matter what. He's just gonna do it,
and doing it like when the kids are out of the house. Starting is it's very endearing.
Yeah. So it's really hard for me to actively hate on this movie, because I just feel like that's me. I feel like I'm punching down, and I don't really want to punch down, but I can't say 1,000% that this is an amazing movie, because it's not.
Yeah, I think we kind of like we can rib it a little bit. I think that's not punching down. But yeah, we're not gonna be like, this Brian Shoup, what an asshole for being.
Yeah, no. He actually seems like he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, and it's like it could definitely be a lot more problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give it that. It could be a lot more problematic. I feel like that's half of my reviews on this podcast.
It could be worse, but it's not.
I think that actually is probably more than half, come to think of it. I feel like I say that every single episode. But yeah, so that's Treasure Blind. It's not a lot of treasure in our feelings towards it. Not a lot of blindness in the movie, so it really failed at its title. But.
If you want to experience this movie for yourself, it is streaming on YouTube for free. Also, you can rent or stream it on Amazon.
But really the important part is that you, at some point, either before, after, or during watching the movie, accept Jesus into your heart as your one and only Savior.
Thing.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But other than that's YouTube, but also remember, don't forget to like accept Jesus into your heart. Yeah, so that's closing the book on that one.
We did it. Mm-hmm.
On to our segment of like just a little bit of joy, thing we love.
Yes, things that are bringing us joy. That's a brilliant segue.
Thank you. I was really just bridged there.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So I would like to recommend some counter entertainment to what we just watched.
Okay.
Because I couldn't help thinking about this movie when I was this other movie when I was watching Treasure Blind. I want to recommend a film called Secondhand Lions. This is everything that this film could have been. This in my humble opinion is how to do a family film right. This film is a totally family picture, but it has got action, it's got adventure, it's got comedy, a little bit of romance, and you don't feel like you're being talked at or pandered to or have a message shoved down your throat. It's brilliant. Unfortunately, the main character, the little boy in this film, is not disabled, but he's played by Haley Joel Osment, so that's cool.
Oh, hey.
But it's about this boy who is dropped off at a farm in the middle of, I think this actually also takes place in Oklahoma, in the middle of summer, and his mother leaves him there, and he has to stay at his uncle's farm, his two elderly uncles, for the summer. And he finds out, I'm not going to say much because you really should watch this movie, but he finds out that his uncles are extraordinary explorers and treasure hunters. And they go on this amazing adventure. And this film also uses flashback, but I think it does it correctly.
Does it have Confederate soldiers
No.
just hanging?
No. It does have French Foreign Legion soldiers, though. So get some Legionnaires. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie is amazing, and I love it. And it's the one movie in my family that we all can agree on that the movie is great.
Then it's like really 4 quadrants. Your whole family can agree.
Yeah.
That's great.
Exactly.
Nice.
It's called Secondhand Lions, and it really should get more credit because it deserves more. It's just a beautiful film.
Awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. Mine also was specifically I thought about because of this movie. Part of me is like worried that I have talked about it on the podcast before. I feel like I have, but it also wasn't like something it wasn't in this segment because I have a list, so I don't repeat anything. But it is the series, the HBO series Watchmen that came out recently. Just because I just kept thinking of it because it's also takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I thought the same thing.
And because I said I was going to do all time travel. And it also does have some time travel elements to it, so figured throw that in because I'm like trying to pinpoint exactly time travel in this modern era, so that's part of my calculation at this point. Anyway, Watchmen is the series takes place. It's a sequel to the comics. Did I just trigger your Siri?
What the hell? No, mine's.
Sorry about that. Please try again and tell me what were you looking for.
Shut up, Siri.
That's mine. What the hell, dude?
What
did
is
I
so
say?
weird. I don't know. That is so fucking weird.
I can't believe I just triggered Siri. Every time I'm like walking with Samways, I'll be like, "Hey, Samways," and then it will always be like, "What? What do you mean? I'm Siri."
Did you mean me? Hello.
Do we have the same? Do we change it to the same voice?
Yes, because I can't
did.
stand the female
I
voice.
hate the.
and
I also
the male
want to be
voice
able
sounds
to
more
yell.
natural.
I also want to be able to yell at the guy.
Yeah. I don't want to yell at the girl. Yeah. Mine's also the British male voice.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, I can pretend I have a robot butler.
I know. I love it. So anyway, it's a sequel to the comics Watchmen and it is just like takes kind of like the superhero critiquing what would be the right word, like kind of motif of the Alan Moore book, but instead of Alan Moore, who's like a white guy, does it really have, it's like a lot of it's like, I think Watchmen is very not apolitical, but it's like racially very irrelevant.
relevant. I mean, they have no problem in the show. They let you know up
No,
front.
I meant the comics. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Okay, yes, yes, absolutely, 100%. The show is amazing because they're like, we're going to talk about race, and you're going to listen, and we're going to confront this. And one of the only reasons that so many people know about the Tulsa riots or the Tulsa massacre is because of Watchmen.
Yeah, it's really
amazing,
which is cool. I mean,
terrifying,
and I love that too because I love I really like when more fantasy aspect things are like about real life political dynamics. Like that's like catnip for me, and so like that actually combining like a fantastical like allegorical stuff with literal historical things is just so great. And there's also a lot of there are a couple episodes in the series that are just really amazing, formalistically structured episodes that are just like those kinds of like certain shows are just able to do that, where they're like, you just have these episodes that are so like put together, and you just like, it's like looking at
it's beautiful.
Yeah, like
it's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Truly is a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's and I feel like now with everything is streaming and made to binge watch, so a lot of it's just like, we're gonna end with something that's a climax, but you're kind of gonna forget what episode anything happens. And so when you can do something that still has that very like continuous story but has just these beautifully done like tale, like almost like a short film, but yeah.
Well, and and he's decided that this is it. This is all we're getting. We're getting just the one season. That's it. No more.
Which is a good call, because it does. And the last episode there's a lot of like stuff about mortality and things, and that's really how the show ends, is like a meditation on mortality. So it does kind of make sense to end it there.
I would rather have 9 perfect episodes than another Game of Thrones on my hands, to be honest.
No, I think it's the right call. And also when you see the last episode, you're like, oh, so this is a miniseries. This was meant to end here. Like, it's just like, it's not, you're not like, ooh, I can't wait till the next season. Like, it is wrapped it up. Like, you feel like this is the end.
I have the motion comic for Watchmen. I can dig it out somewhere, and it narrates the whole thing to you.
That would be
if you
necessary for me to be able to read it, because one time I did, when the movie came out, that was not good, but I didn't see it in the end, because I was like, oh, watch the comic, then we'll go see the movie. That Smashing Pumpkins song trailer is really cool.
Oh my god, I watched that trailer
Such a
400 times. Yep.
That's top 3 maybe. A Serious Man. It's also one of my favorite trailers. Anyway.
Yeah, and then I read that entire book before I saw the movie.
See, yeah, I started and was like, I am in so much pain and also have no idea what I just read. So I was like, I guess I will not be reading this now.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
It is. I think we were talking about this before we started recording, but like Blankets, which is a very easy book to read if you're a blind person.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I could read when I was a kid.
Yeah, and in college I had a giant CCTV, so it was basically just a giant magnifying glass.
That's
huge.
That's
I
good.
read so many comic books. That was how I read all of my comic books.
Yeah, I feel like I would need that for comics specifically, because it's like,
great.
I can't read a book that way. Like, that's so obnoxious, but I feel like it would help me with reading comics.
I read everything that way. I read print
Could you
books.
read a
I read
print book?
Yeah, I read
could not
comic
handle
books.
that.
I wrote. I would fill out paperwork with that thing.
Well, that's smart.
And
that is smart. I should get one of those.
All of my BVI teachers were like, "My God, you can write with that!" And I'm like, "Yeah, why is that so hard to understand?"
Isn't that what it's for? Partly, isn't that one of the supposed uses?
I think most people just assume it's for print media and things. But
wait, but
yeah,
why?
I wrote under it. I looked at. When I was collecting the 50 state quarters, I looked at each quarter.
Wait, okay. Writing is not a stretch.
No,
Why
I know.
were they so surprised by this?
Because they were stupid. Because most of my BVI teachers were stupid, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like this is a big problem with society. If this is surprising you could write with, oh my God, that's really upsetting.
Oh God, we should. For those who, I don't know if this will stay in or not, but for those who want to know, a CCTV is basically a giant flat screen, not giant, sorry, it's basically like a medium-sized flat screen TV with an arm on the back of it hooked up to this camera apparatus.
Yeah.
And you stick what you're reading, looking, writing, whatever, underneath the camera apparatus, and then it blows it up and it comes up on the monitor.
It's kind of like a telescope if it was connected to a monitor, and slightly different in the way it operated, but like it's that kind of technology.
It's amazing, and I used to own one, and they cost thousands and thousands of dollars.
Expensive.
It's ridiculous how expensive they
Which,
are.
like, they should not. I mean, they now should be so cheap.
Oh, I know.
Like, you could make like a janky one for like probably like $300. So they really should not be like, if they're more than $400, that's
mine cost
criminal.
$32,000 and then broke.
Fuck the world.
Yep, I had it in college for my first 4 or 5 years, I think. And
I
then
really love how we're such a small minority, so we have no purchasing power. And on top of that, they never give us jobs. 80% of us are unemployed. And, like, what? Capitalism is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I hate capitalism, guys. I'm going on record. Capitalism is horrible. I have class tonight. I'm realizing what time it is.
Yeah, we need to be done.
Yeah, okay. Our theme song was by Lucio Fasano. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Instagram is Citizen White Cane. Our Facebook is Citizen White Cane also. Not also, it's just Citizen White Cane. Our email is citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to leave a voice message for us, the link is in the show notes. Have you found Civil War treasure in a random location in Tulsa?
Have you paid your rent with antiques?
Oh, yeah. Are you a blind child that is learning Braille in the 1800s? I don't know. And send us a voicemail with movies you'd like us to cover. Maybe other Christian movies that are worse, that are more specifically someone finding Jesus. Rate the podcast, review the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, tell all your friends. And tune in next week. We're going to do more In the Dark. And we forgot to say that earlier, but we're going to do the next 3 episodes of In the Dark, 4 through 6. So tune in next week to see what's up with Murphy and Pretzel.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes. Awesome. Just remember Jesus. Bye.
Bye.